Stormtroopers, the mascot of Star Wars, is the best way to describe them. You can line up different sci-fi or fantasy helmets, and one look at this, you'll instantly recognize it without a second thought, regardless you're a fan. Hell, you could probably describe a blind person about it and know what franchise it belongs to. Despite being the face of Star Wars, they don't get the respect and love from the writers. Every time they're on screen, they feel as threatened as a cockroach easily stepped on by everyone they encounter. So let's take a closer look how they've been treated by the franchise. What makes a bad joke? Is it a context within it that doesn't hit hard to the person? Is it dependent on the characteristic on the individual, or is it how long the joke keeps going to the point it's more annoying and you don't want to hear it? That being the case, can we stop Stormtroopers can't hit for shit? I know it was funny at first, mocking how despite having a clear viewing, they miss harder than a console player using a PC. Of course, you're gonna let them hit our protagonist since they can one shot. Not only that, the movie's trying to keep a fantasy tone. Having the character getting shot and screaming in pain isn't a really pretty sight, therefore they try to direct it this way. Instead of just making them competent for the sake of continuity and worldbuilding, they keep going to the point they made it canon. How did they make it canon? Well, it's due to ill equipment.
Wow, you really do shoot like a stormtrooper. Guess I don't have too much to worry about.
This helmet. I can't see.
Why? There's no way in hell that an empire that relies on a strong military presence to have a strong grip on the galaxy and ruling with an iron fist having equipment that hinder their jobs. It's like giving oven gloves to a mechanic. As if being blind isn't bad, and now despite wearing what looks like armor, they might as well be naked. It's been debated whether it's actually armor or they're wearing uniform, because despite seeming like it's armor, it does nothing to protect the user, and this is supposed to be uniform, well, it looks too damn clunky. This is a common problem throughout the series. Some Stormtrooper gets one shot, other takes a whole army to mow them down, other times it takes one angry man with a stick to be able to break it into pieces like it's plastic toy. Then again, this is more a problem in armor across all media. Usually it's also being portrayed, especially in history-based narrative where we have characters penetrated through a chest plate like it's butter. But that's a discussion for another time. Let's get back on track. Now, the lore does confirm its armor, explain the reason behind Stormtrooper being knocked out, how it's made of plasma, a mixture between plastic and carbon nano that helps them suppress the firepower of the blaster. However, they still feel the impact. In other words, when we see the Stormtrooper getting shot, he's just unconscious. Okay, fair enough, as long as that's the case. This is a fundamental problem why Stormtroopers aren't being taken seriously, that being the writer. Despite how much you try to explain it with science or back it up with lore, all gets thrown out the window when the writer for the movies or shows can just ignore the benefit their convoluted plot. It seems that most of them don't have any idea how to write military factions. Instead, learn how to do it by having them be more tactical, basic chain of command. They rather play it safe and rely on the tropes they themselves created. Look at Clone Wars, for example. Despite all of them having guns, they run each other like it's a medieval battle. As if having crappy equipment isn't bad enough, their combat as well, as I said in the beginning, not very good. Despite being soldiers, their aim is no better than a 1000 ping CSGO player. Their fighting skills are equivalent of a 4-year-old. Despite having all those numbers, it's just worthless, where you see characters rushing at them without a sense of danger and taking them all out, making them feel no longer a threatening force to deal with. Instead, they're more like doomed zombies there to feed our protagonists and kills. It's unsatisfying seeing one person taking out a full squadron. It really isn't impressive since it seems that anyone can do it if you're in a good guy's team. What about any perspectives about them? Well, for those who can't see too well up close, better invest some reading glasses because you're not going to get them in any other media other than books. The only closest thing we're actually getting the perspective was Battlefront 2, only to be pulled under the rug because it turns out to be a rebel story. Why do I and our fans want to see Stormtroopers? Well, look at Warhammer 40k. Despite having many different unique and interesting races, yet people gravitate towards the Imperial Guard. Why? Well, there's something interesting about a regular human fighting against horrific entities in space, despite the odds they'll push through while making brotherly bonds during war. It's one of the most interesting relationships someone can make. Whenever a loss does happen, you'll feel the impact of that death. Hell, Star Wars has something similar with this, with clones having their own unique culture despite everyone being the exact same copies. They have unique personalities for themselves with nicknames instead of calling themselves Clone Trooper barcode. Something that we never get for Stormtroopers since they're an enemy team. However, despite my like for clones, their lore hinders my enjoyment about them since they're solely created for war. From birth to death, they'll serve the Republic, and whenever a war is over, they most likely cease to exist. Any that decide to fight for freedom for their brothers or want to start a family and live a quiet life are considered as traitors. In other words, they're essentially slaves forced to fight for their faction, and ironically enough, the Empire, despite being an evil faction, are conscripts. Despite their prejudice towards other races other than humans, most of the Stormtroopers are volunteers. And true to Star Wars' theme, there's a bit of hope. Despite the decline of the franchise in recent years, however, spark of hope came to exist being Andor. We get to see the inner workings of the Empire being an actual government with structures of command and characters who believe their own faction rebellion is the correct way to maintain order in the galaxy and wishes spontaneously become a rebel. Sadly for Andor, it got swept away and sandwiched by a bunch of crap in its release, slowly being forgotten in the media. That spark is nothing more than an amber in the darkness of mediocrity. Thanks for watching, and bye.